All right. Well, here we are again. We have another awards webinar. Today, we are focusing on how to create a winning entry. We have two former winners with us. Both of you, I think, Cooper and Daniel, was last year your first year creating entries for the presentation or for the awards program?
Yes.
All right. And Daniel, how many awards did you end up coming away with?
5 project awards.
Great. Okay. And then Cooper, how about you?
Was 6 project awards and a People's Choice Award.
Very cool. Very good. Well, so Daniel, will you tell us a little bit about your company?
Yes. House to Home Solutions. We're based out of Rockville, Maryland. We are a design, build, remodel firm with a design studio. And we pretty much handle any project inside and outside of home that primarily revolves around design first, and then all the way through construction. So anything from kitchens, bathrooms, main level remodels, whole house remodels, additions, anything inside and outside the house, from outdoor kitchens to screen porches to decks.
You do it. All right. Perfect.
Yeah.
And then Cooper, tell us about the your company, please.
So Lane Homes and Remodeling, it's a design build firm based in Richmond, Virginia. We specialize in large scale residential renovation, and we do remodeling, and we do anything from kitchens to bathrooms to outdoor living, anything inside, outside the home, just like said before. And yeah, we like to do a lot of large scale projects and anything that people want to put in their house or outside the house.
Right, right. All right. And we also have with us today Greg Hadley with Greg Hadley Photography. Greg, will you introduce yourself and your role with Pro and your company?
Yes. So welcome, everybody. My name is Greg Hadley. I own and have been operating my own photography business, Greg Hadley Photography, since 1995. I've been a member of this remodeling group in different ways since 1995 as well. And I've been the chairman of the awards committee on and off for at least 15 years. And I've been very involved used to be very involved in acquiring the judges. I do not judge the competition. I want to make sure that's very clear.
Right.
I no longer am in charge of getting the judges, but I do recommend judges to the panel. And we used 20 judges last year, something like that, which is a lot. So it's hard to keep them on and find them. And they are all over the country now. We used to just use local judges who are non-members or past members. And I love taking pictures of remodeling projects and helping my clients grow their business and win some awards and get published and have content for, newsletters, articles, website, anything involved with images.
Great. Thank you, Greg. I appreciate your service. You've done a lot for the program, and it's good to have you. So today, Greg will be talking to us about capturing and telling your project transformation story through your photographs. He'll be giving you some tips on ways to get those published in local publications. We also, Sherry, is our friends from Our Home Magazine on as well?
Yes, Susan's on.
Oh, hi, Susan. Susan, will you introduce yourself as well and your publication?
Hi, everyone. I'm Susan Morgan, the managing editor of Our Home magazine. That's Richmond Home and Garden magazine. We cover interior design in Central Virginia.
Very good. And you guys have been a great media partner of ours covering the awards programs. I was in that area, in that market in 2014, and you were doing it then. So we appreciate that. I'm going to start with you, Susan, because I would like to understand what our members should know if they want to be selected by your publication or other publications. What's the difference in like real estate photography and what you're looking for?
Well, I think that basically real estate photography and what we look for have different purposes. Real estate photography wants you to show how the size of the rooms and that type of thing, because they want to sell the house and the property. What we're interested in is the details and the elements that make up the design or the renovation that you've done. So we want to see things where we can actually see them, not just big overall room views. In terms of getting things in the magazine, basically you need to show us some of those things. I'd love to get submissions. I'm happy to go scout things if people contact me and say they have a great project and send a couple of iPhone shots, and we can set up time for me to go over there and take a look. Or if they've hired a photographer and had it photographed, if they want to send them to me, that's great also, because we do use projects that have already been photographed. Sometimes we do supplement the photos because we know that not all of the house has been done in that particular sitting. So there are a lot of reasons, to send photos. We also do, in our case, we also do into kitchens or outdoor spaces, or even one really cool space we're looking for all different kinds of things, all different kinds of design styles, aesthetics, homes that are new, old, historic, does not matter. Virginia, in the last like 20 years, Virginia design has totally evolved from being very classic oriented to branching out and accepting all kinds of styles. So we're showing that in the magazine. One of the myths that we found, a lot of people think, oh, we have this wonderful project and we want it to be in, like House Beautiful or something like that. And if they put it in a local magazine, they won't get it in. That's not true, actually. I've met some of the editors from Traditional Home and House Beautiful, and even my predecessor talked with someone from Elle Decor. All of them use magazines like Our Home as resources to find projects.
Mm-hmm.
And I can tell you that a lot of the designers who've had things in the magazine in the last few years have been featured in other publications with a broader distribution, like a national distribution base. So it always, it's good to send emails and tell us a little bit about the projects, and we'll go from there.
Would you mind sharing in the chat the email address that members should use to email you projects?
Sure, it's very easy. It's Susan M, SUSANM at richmag, RICHMAG.com.
All right, great. Thank you. That's very helpful.
Sure.
Are there certain additions? Like, I imagine that there are certain times a year that you do certain additions and are looking for specific types of projects. And if so, is there a lead time ahead of that people should reach out to you with those certain projects?
Well, we work 3 months ahead. So today I finished July and the July-August issue, and it goes to press on Tuesday. And I will turn my attention to September. In terms of specific times for specific kinds of projects, I know we do feature the Pro Awards in our January issue each year, and we have also accompanied that with other remodeling projects. But we may not do that next year. I mean, we'll show the Pro Central Awards, but we may not, the issue might not focus totally on renovation projects.
Right.
So really, I only have 6 issues a year. So we kind of the themes kind of rotate to what we can do. For instance, we did our May, June issue focused on projects that were all on the south side of Richmond across the James River. The one we're finishing now focuses on things that projects that kind of indoor outdoor living.
Mhm.
The one I'm starting next week is focusing on, I think, getting ready for the holiday, like getting guests ready with guest rooms and homes that are designed to entertain. And I am still looking for things for that, so people could send things for
Great.
that.
Thank you.
Sure.
All right. I'm going to switch over to Greg. And Greg, will you do us a favor? Tell us what you can share about photography tips that would help people, first of all, tell the story and showcase the project for the judges. And then any tips you may have that might help them get published, because you've had a lot of your photographs published in Home and Design magazine and different publications.
Yes, so photographing for a custom builder is different than shooting for a remodeler, for instance. And, I think it's really important for the photographer to know what was done at the project, maybe have some plans, maybe walk the space with the designer. And the homeowner can point out things too, particularly if they have things that were done that were custom for them, for their cooking style or for their storage use. And those are things that can be easily shown as a detail or, spoken about in a bullet point. But I like to show before and after pictures that match up pretty good. Obviously, if you're taking out a bunch of walls and you're moving the kitchen from one side of the house to the other, it might not match up. But the way the flow of the house has changed, the way the access to the outside is different, how you maybe enter the house, it could be different. Doors and windows have been moved. Maybe the sink and the refrigerator were, moved to different positions for better, a view out the window, for instance. Those are all important features, also things that can be talked about in an awards entry. You don't have to use a professional photographer to get good results, but I highly recommend it. And I would say that very few projects in the pro awards program they were almost all shot by professionals.
Mhm.
And magazines want professional photography. They're not going to probably publish, too many pictures that an amateur has done, unless it's like a picture of the homeowner or before pictures, or perhaps a picture, maybe a detail. Certainly that an iPhone can do a great justice to close-ups. And you're looking at the contest, the judges are going to be looking at your pictures primarily. They will read some of the information that's put in to the presentation, of course. But you don't want to inundate the judges with paragraph after paragraph when a bullet point will do, or a caption will tell a lot of the story. If rooms have been really altered and added and moved, a before plan and an after plan together, it might not be a bad idea. And then use color coding to highlight the areas that were changed. And simplify the drawings. You don't have to have an architectural drawing. It could be just something done in-house that shows that, we added this space, we moved this space, we took out this wall. And if it's, side by side, it's really easy for the judges to pick up. I wouldn't put them on separate pages if you don't have to.
Mhm.
And that
Greg,
goes,
do you
goes-
remember there was one project, just a fun aside, there was one project that the sketch was on a cocktail napkin. Do you remember that? And they had taken a picture of a cocktail napkin and we were like, oh boy, wouldn't recommend it. But it is the simple, like before and after, without all the technical details and stuff like that, really does help. So keep going. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so, and that goes well for the before and after pictures. You don't want the judge having to go 3 pages deep to find the before and go back and forth. Put them on the same slide or the same page, or Some people will take the little tiny before picture and just put it in the corner, you know, and it doesn't have to match up 100%, but it should be relatable. And I also think that, you know, speaking to the homeowner, you know, what was their goal? Why did they have this project done? What do they like best about it? You know, interview your homeowner for your entry. Get some buzzwords from them about how happy they are with X, Y, and Z, and how the ideas that your firm came up with, they had never dreamed of. And you saved them time and money, and you created something out of dead space that they didn't even know they existed behind the stairs, for instance. And storage is a real big thing now, you know. There's a lot of creative solutions for storage, and sometimes I will open up the cabinet, I'll pull out these, you know, what are they called? Those racks that, you know, endlessly turn over and over and over again. So you get like 3 or 4 different layers. And, you know, maybe inside the cabinet is, you know, all the charging stations or hideaway places for all the appliances that they don't use very much. Or, you know, I'm more and more now, people are incorporating pet areas for their pets with food and maybe even a bed, you know, in the kitchen, or areas where you might, well, you wouldn't know unless someone told you that it was there. And I think it's good to take details of some of the elements, the tile, particularly the backsplash around the stove. That's a real critical area. There's a lot of different ways that you can be creative with that. You know, is that a custom sink? Is that, you know, where the face plates, you know, ceramically painted or to match a pattern? That's kind of cool. Maybe the lighting features are different. More and more today, people are going for a lot more flexibility in their lighting with dimmers. And you can even buy bulbs today that have a code, and you put it into a program on your phone or, you know, computer. You can change the color individually of every bulb in your house with those
Right.
special bulbs. Kind of have a crazy
I
sort of
imagine
a
that's hard to
70s thing, if you
capture
want.
on film, but I assume it can be done. Well,
And
Greg,
go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say, I'm gonna switch over and maybe we'll feel free to chime in if you have some more photography things as Daniel and Cooper get into showing some of their actual projects. So don't hesitate if you see something in a photo or whatever to jump in, okay? Daniel, I'll start with you. Can you tell us a little bit, some of the tips and things that you picked up last year as your first time entrant and putting your awards together? If you have some that you could show us as examples, that'd be great. But tell us some things that you learned last year when you were putting your awards together.
Yeah, let me share my screen that way.
Okay, I think it's set to do that. So let me know
Okay,
if you have
so
any trouble. There we go. Good.
you can see my screen.
Yes,
right.
sir. Very good.
So what I did here, I opened up 2 entries
Mm-hmm.
that were the same project, but we entered them 2 times, which was something that we learned we could do, was, you know, enter them under different categories if they qualify for those categories. So for example, this bathroom, we entered it as a bathroom remodel between 50 and 100,000, but we also entered it as universal design. And big misconception with the universal design is people think that it has to be ADA or it has to be 100% universal design, and that's not the case. If you read the rules, it's you have to have a certain number of universal design elements, and it's a point system. So you just got to have enough points for it to qualify. So, you know, these 2 designs, I'll just kind of flip through how we presented them. But we addressed, you know, before pictures and during pictures within the slides. I don't know if you can.
Yeah, we can. It's great. And I like how, like Greg said, you have a small before picture, a larger after picture. You're showing some of those great details of the drawers and things like that, all the storage space that you have. I like that you have bullets. One of the biggest criticisms we get from judges is when people just have way too much text. It's in paragraph form and it's so hard to get the important information. So client feedback, so you're giving a testimonial there about how the bathroom was so well appreciated by the clients, how you met their needs.
Yeah, involving the client was important, making sure we had some quotes in there and just some things that the client said.
Do you interview so I've had some teams that say they go out before a project, they take a ton of before pictures from different angles because they never know which angle is going to be that great shot. Like Greg said, match them up, your before as close to your after as possible. And they've interviewed the clients to get a better idea of what they're looking for. And then they create a file. Is that what your team does? How do you do it?
Well, we kind of do that already, not thinking of the award in general. I mean, we have a pretty detailed questionnaire that we give our client up front, and we really try to dig deep to understand our client and what they're looking for. Both from a design element, but also from functionality and just long-term for their home. So we always have those notes anyways. And then when we always take a lot of before pictures just to make sure we have details to be able to look at while we're designing. And then we do professional photography at the end of the project. And then what we do is we always ask for reviews and testimonials. And we also send a guild quality review survey to our clients. So we get a lot of that information regardless of the award program.
Okay.
Because it's just good to have. But, it does give us quotes and details that we can use for lots of different marketing opportunities.
Do you ever use any of these for your portfolio when you're visiting a prospective client?
Photos we do, not these per se
Not
entries,
the
but
entries. Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And anything, first of all, I want to go back to what you said. About 3 years ago, we changed the rules to where you could enter the same house in multiple categories. So for example, if you did an entire house renovation, you could enter it in entire house. If there was an addition, you could break out into just that addition. You could pull out the kitchen project. So you could enter it in multiple categories. There's separate entry fees, and it just has to meet the criteria for each of those categories. And you have to break out the cost for each of the spaces. So that's helpful for people to realize. Some people are not aware that that's the case. Anything else, Daniel, that you would share?
I'm happy to share other projects that we submitted. I don't know if that.
Yeah, how about let's
cool.
look at maybe one more and
You want to see an outdoor?
yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, let's see.
I remember this one. Mm-hmm.
So this
I
was-
like this railing is for the birds. Like being
Yep.
creative is very helpful. Judges like that stuff.
Yeah, and this homeowner in particular, they're bird watchers, and so they really wanted a railing that offered as minimal lines as possible so that they had a nice view of their backyard. And so this was just an entry for, an exterior element under 30,000, which
Mhm.
entered it as the railing. But it was a large deck project.
Right before and after on the same place, a couple
Yeah.
bullet points to explain what was happening. Material details, I like that.
Views from different angles, and then just more details about it, and then client feedback.
Very good.
That
Cool.
was one, and then we had one. Let's see if I can find this other one. Where is it? Why am I not? Oh, here it is. Find PDF. So this was another one.
Residential exterior 1 to 200. Uh-huh.
So again, we kind of showed the before and
Mhm.
after. Now we couldn't, like, we're not supposed to have pictures of like the homeowner and stuff like that, but I
Right.
mean, like this job, we had great photography with the homeowner in the different spaces.
Mhm.
But we just couldn't use that for this part of the,
We do allow, if, say, for example, the only before photo has a homeowner in it, you can literally blur out their identity. So
Okay.
that, and if you needed to, like if you had a picture that you really needed to use, you could use some sort of system to like put a overlay, like a image over
Yeah.
them, or a blur them out. We do allow that. Okay. Again, a lot of bullets instead of a ton of writing. All right. So Cooper, you ready to show us a couple of your projects and some things you learned in this first experience? I mean, Lane Holmes has entered for years, but this was your first year putting those entries together. Is that correct?
Yes, it was. It was actually one of the first things I ever did at Lane Homes, because I started in the middle of September and we were submitting at the beginning of October. So I was fresh into Lane Homes. So this was a
And
good,
then by November, you were like carrying out all those awards.
yeah, I guess that's how it happened.
Good.
So yeah, it was a fun time.
Okay. So what do you
and
have for us?
let me see. Can everyone see this okay?
Yes. Yes.
Perfect. So yeah, like I said, I was very new to Lane Homes and remodeling in general at the time. So I used all of the materials provided by Pro and looking through all the rubrics and making sure I was crossing my T's and dotting my I's.
What do you
Uh,
mean by that? What rubric are you referring to?
the judges' guidelines where what they judge on, I kind of use that to break my slides up. If you look later in the project, you'll see that's kind of what I used as my my headers for each slide to address the different points of the judges' criteria to make
Very
sure I
good. So you
was.
literally took the judge's criteria and had it next to you, and that's what you ended up making slides to address each one of those questions that the judges would judge you on. Good.
I did. So yeah, short little description. We have the floor plans that we put on here. And then it goes through the client's wants and the needs. A lot of this information, as I mentioned, I was very new. So a lot of my work was interviewing our design consultants and getting all the information from them because they're the ones in contact with the clients a lot of the time. So they were great resources for me to try to just organize all the information that was being presented.
Right.
So I spent a lot of time getting information from them to see how I could put this into the presentation.
Functional improvements, aesthetics. Very good. And that's a specific judge's question. How did it improve the aesthetics, the functionality? How did it show superior craftsmanship? Each of these questions are specific questions the judges are asked.
Yep. So I took those and put those into the presentation. And I tried to make sure, thankfully we work with a great photographer who got us these photos. So I used the information that I was provided by the design consultants and made sure that the photos were corresponding to the text. So if I talk about quartz countertops, there's a photo, at least one that has the countertops in them. So it's all together.
And another recommendation, you can use arrows and captions or, to do the same thing instead of just bullets. Sometimes we'll see, like if they're addressing lighting or the countertops or whatever, you might have an arrow or something pointing to it. So I've seen that as well. Very helpful for the judges to specifically see what you're talking about.
Yep. So yeah, this is our addition project. So it was more of the standard things. And then this one was a fun one to do. It was a insulated wine room that we use for our interior exterior specialty, which I believe is not a category. It's being replaced by interior, I think.
So no, this year, I think there is an interior exterior element, which is just, it's similar to that specialty. It's just one aspect of a home or a project. And I think I don't know if there's price points in Central Virginia. In the DC market, we have above 30 and below 30. We have an interior element and an exterior, but I think in Central Virginia, it's interior, exterior, and that's the case with Philly as well. Did you change to show us the wine thing? Because we're still looking at the other project. Had you changed over to show us something different?
I thought it would change when I changed.
I think it's, you may have chosen a certain screen instead of your actual desktop. So I want to make sure they get to see
Okay.
that wine rack.
Well, that makes sense.
Cooper, what platform or software did you use to create your PowerPoint or your presentation?
I used Microsoft PowerPoint.
Okay, very good. Okay.
Yeah.
And Daniel, what did you use?
I use the same thing, PowerPoint.
Okay. We have seen a few people this past year use Canva, and that was also very, very easy to use. So PowerPoint, Canva, I don't know if there are other ones out there that people are using. Okay, so this is your residential interior exterior specialty.
Yes, this is the wine room that I was talking about before it was on screen. But yes, this is that one.
Beautiful.
That's
I wonder how many bottles of wine are in there.
I think it's about 1,000.
Wow.
It's a lot of wine. But now they have a beautiful place to store it, which is great. This one is particularly interesting because it's it's a big wine room, but it's a small room compared to the first project
Right.
that I was showing. So a lot of this was trying to make sure the photos weren't exactly the same, trying to show like different parts of a small room was what I focused on for this one.
Right. Yeah. So you can get the points for those various judging questions. It's harder with a smaller element than it is.
Yeah. My goal in mind was just to try not to be repetitive as much as possible, but making sure that I'm showing all the information I need to show. So yep, 1,000 bottle collection and wanted room for more.
I have a lot of wine in my house too. It just comes from my teenage daughters. That's so fun. All right. What else? Let's see. What again, just kind
Well,
of,
I think you meant whining, not.
oh, that's,
wine.
yeah, whining. Yes. Well, very nice. I love it. I think
So,
we all
yeah.
need these wine racks.
So yeah, that
Mentioning the
one.
lighting, very good. Okay. Overcoming obstacles. It used to be a bigger factor in the project, in the judging thing. It's not as big this year as it has been in the past. So that's another point that I want to make to entrants. Be sure to take a look at the judging criteria. It hasn't changed in DC. Has changed in Central Virginia. So make sure you're looking at the new judging criteria. And Philly hasn't had a competition since pre-COVID. So it's definitely changed for them. Okay. And then I was going to ask another question. I forget what it was. Does anyone viewing have a question for either Daniel or Cooper or Greg or Susan?
I have a question. About how much time would you say it took y'all to put together any of these entries on average?
I was probably working on 6 entries from the beginning of when I started. And I would say it took up most of my time to organize all the information in the 3 weeks that I was there. So I guess, I would dedicate like days to each of the just trying to make sure getting all the information and making sure all the photography in the right place. It's something I spent a good bit of time on.
I've had members tell me it's a minimum of 8 hours to put a project together. And I think that's a low estimate. Daniel, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, we did it as, you know, kind of a team. Two people here kind of worked on it primarily, and I kind of just gave my critiques on it. And I would say it took us about 2 weeks to do the 5. I think we did 6 entries, and we won 5. So, you know, it takes quite a bit of time.
Right, yeah.
Well, I think that's a great point that, you know, you not only, you had somebody put it together, but you looked at it and made some adjustments or had some questions maybe. So it's always good to have somebody else in the office look at the project, particularly if they know a little bit about the project, but if they've never seen it before, don't know anything about it, it's still very helpful so that, you know, imagine they're the judge and can they understand what you're trying to get across quickly in your points.
Yeah, I think it's better to have someone who isn't familiar with the project take the judging criteria and judge it for you to see if you have actually been able to tell the transformation story, you know? Let me share for a second. I wanted to share a few things. Look over my messy desktop. I want to share historic data, and I'm going to minimize this a little bit. So this was this past season, and actually I'm going to, let me data sort, I'm sorry. Let me data sort this by entry. Forgive me, I thought I had it done. I'm going to do column C. And let's see. So these are the categories that we had 0 or 1 entry in DC. Okay, so commercial isn't very popular. Green, interiors and exteriors, home automation and media, residential interior element over 30 and over, kitchen 100 to 150. That one really surprises me a little bit. I guess that's a low cost for a kitchen in the DC market. Universal design, creative solutions, green, new custom, over and under, we only had 1 of each of those. Detached structures with new ADUs, I think we'll see more of those this year. Residential exterior element 30 and over. Element under 30 for exterior, residential landscape and outdoor living under 100. We saw some Mac Daddy projects that were really expensive, but I'm surprised we didn't see more under $100,000 exteriors, and then universal design interiors. So I will try to make sure I'll put this list, and what we do in DC, and I think we'll start doing it for all 3 markets throughout the competition and throughout the season. We'll give you an update and let you know how many entries in progress we have in each category, how many we have submitted. And then for the 21-22 season for us, these were the entries that we did not have a lot of. So, you know, it's helpful to see some of those, and maybe you have a project that you're like, oh, maybe it is award winning, you know? And then here is Central Virginia's information for this past season. They didn't have any home theater automation. They didn't have a residential interior, which surprises me. They didn't have an entire house or a residential bath under 50. They had 1 residential bath under 50. So outdoor living seemed to be really popular in Central Virginia this past year. Residential bath over 50. And then of course, both kitchen categories this year. And I'm getting ready to do a tutorial video on selecting your categories and on the rules and guidelines. So keep your eyes out for that. If you are looking for information on the awards program, you can come to our YouTube channel for Professional Remodeling Organization. If you go to playlists, you'll see award things here. So go to Pro All right. Awards. Oh,
Here we
this is last week's How to Navigate the Pro Remodeler of the Year Awards portal. You'll get inspired with some of our videos from previous years, like just montage videos. But I'll also have those tutorial videos over here as well. And what I'll probably do is revisit that historical data when I'm doing the category selections, because that should be part of your selection process. If it's not a very popular entry, then let's do it.
Angela, if you could just talk a little bit about if there is just one entry or just two,
Good
people
question.
automatically feel like they're given the award because that's not the way it works.
Exactly. So there is a minimum score required for a winning project. So even if we only have one entry in the category, that does not necessarily mean you're going to get the pro award. And so just know, like, sometimes I think it can feel a little hollow for a victory if you were the only project in the category, but you do have to meet a minimum requirement to get that. And, you know, some years one category is really popular and the next year it might not be. Any other questions?
Sorry, Angela, just to clarify that last point, are you saying that, say I submit something and I'm the only person who was in that category, does that automatically mean that I'm not gonna win, or just that if
Oh, no.
it's not like good enough, it may not win? Is
Right,
that what you're saying?
right. Sometimes we might have a universal design project and they don't meet the criteria and the minimum score. Or we might have just a regular project and there's a minimum score required for you to win. So we might have one project in a category. If they get above that score, of course, they're the grand winner. If they don't get above that, they will not be awarded at any level. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, and I think we do that because we want people to know it's, you know, you have to meet a certain criteria in order to get the award. It's not, you know, you can't help it if there's only one entry in a category, but we want to make sure that that entry is award worthy.
Yeah, and it's still judged.
Yeah. And let me tell you about the judging. So as Greg mentioned, for years, people thought he judged them, which was so funny. But in each affiliate, what we'll do, so Sherry will be recruiting judges for her awards program. She typically would reach out to the other pro affiliates to recruit those judges. If it's a universal design project, we get someone who's universal design certified. If it's a green project, we try to get someone who has a green certification. Each project is judged by 3 judges. So we might take the entire category, okay? So say it's kitchens over 250. We would get the same 3 judges to judge all the projects in that category, so that if you might get that hard judge, you know, like you joke about the Olympic judge, which one is it, the German or the French? I don't know. But if somebody judges harshly, they may score you low. We want every project in that category scored by that firm judge. And then there might be a judge who's like, oh, that's 15 points. Oh, it's beautiful. You know, we want those projects scored, all the projects in the category scored by the same judge. The only time we don't use 3 judges is if we have one entry, we may only use 2 judges every once in a while, just because we don't want to wear out our judges. So, I mean, we got a lot in DC, we have about 120 projects to judge. And if each one of those are reviewed by 3 judges, that's a lot of reviews. Sherry, can you think of anything else important to share? Those are good points.
No, I think that's it. But I think I think Daniel and Cooper both showed examples of some type of layout I have noticed over the last several years. Last year we had a low number of entrants, and I think it's just because everybody's so busy.
That's exactly right.
We had double that the year before and even more the year before. So, but I did notice that people, if it includes some type of layout design, before and afters are very, very important, but some type of layout, they seem to score higher.
Right, the floor plan helps, and
Yes.
I recommend, and Cooper, not to pick on you, but your floor plan had a lot of detail in it and a lot of technical stuff. Stripping that out is actually extremely helpful, and having it on the same page, the before and after in that floor plan, stripping it out. And like Greg said, if you completely renovate the floor plan to where it isn't, you can't even get a before and after because it's not even the same shot. That's how you can really show the judges that transformation is that floor plan before and after.
And
Trying
our
to,
judges come from all walks of life. We'll have architects, designers, interior designers, magazine editors, people who are in the industry in different ways. So you're not just going to have just remodeling contractors that would be a judge, but you will have some.
right. We try to get people who specialize in kitchens to judge the kitchens, exteriors to judge the exteriors. I recommend that you judge, and that helps you better understand what it's like for the judges to try to comprehend the transformation and what you're trying to explain. The people who judge projects are often better entrants. So I recommend, when you see that notice come out that we're soliciting judges for other markets, jump in, try to get whoever on your team is preparing these entries to judge them. Daniel, can you think of any other final points or tips? Are you muted? It happens every meeting. Somebody does it.
Sorry about that.
You did it this time.
I think the main thing to keep in mind, if you plan on submitting, especially if you have a project that you're like, hey, this is good, this could be a great project, is to make sure you're thinking ahead, taking a lot of before pictures, just get lots of them, different angles. They don't have to be professional photography, just make sure you have a lot of them.
It's actually better if they're not, because you got
Yeah.
this crappy picture and then you have this beautiful picture.
Yeah, I think that's the key. And then making sure you're writing notes down about the project. Whether it's your designer or whoever's involved in the project, just writing down as many notes about the homeowner, what they were looking for, what the outcome was expected to be. And then if you can get quotes from your clients, those are great. Testimonials, reviews.
Yes. And I would also say that focusing not on we did this, we did that, the homeowner wanted, and this is how we met that desire. This is how we delivered that. Anything else, Daniel?
No, I mean, keeping your writing short.
Yes.
Nobody wants to read a whole paragraph about something, so just shorten to the point.
Bullets, captions, arrows. Do not put a paragraph in there. Do not. I guarantee you do not want to do that. Cooper, any final pointers from you?
I guess the only thing to add is if you get a lot of people into this process and having a lot of different eyes checking your work, I found that that's the best thing. I know we talked earlier about getting someone new to see if they can understand it. I think that's one of the things that we did. I was kind of working on the presentations until I understood these jobs that I had no idea what they were.
Right.
So if you can get as much information and as many different people as possible, I think it'll make a great presentation.
I cannot believe you came in and had to jump right. Talk about baptism by fire. Oh, Edward, that was not nice.
Yeah, it was a good introduction to the company.
And it's a great, imagine this year, how much more now you've seen these projects, you've, breathed them as they've happened. So you're so much better prepared.
Yeah.
Anybody else on the call who has done an entry that has any pointers to share? Or any final questions?
I'll add something that I think maybe contractors don't think about who've never entered, is that, the employees love getting awards too, and, the kitchen designer, if their project wins, they're pretty happy, and the homeowners are thrilled. And, you can get a lot of, what do you call it? Good karma from winning a couple awards. It'll last a couple of years with your team. And, you know, presenting an award to the homeowner or letting them know that their house won, I think they're going to tell all the neighbors.
Yeah, I've had companies who have created one of those photo books from the presentation to present. We've had companies order an additional award after the awards have been sent, have been presented at the gala. You would have an opportunity to order additional awards, maybe for a designer who worked on the project or for the homeowner, if homeowners really like that. I want to show you one more thing. I neglected to show you. So there's the YouTube channel. Let me move some of this little thing down. If you go to the Pro Award, the Pro website, under this awards tab, if you go to enter, you will see all of the information you need. There's a little promo video there, all of the deadlines and entry costs, which are different for each market. You can click here to enter the portal to get started. Once you start, and a couple things, once you start in the portal, you can save it and come back to it. You don't have to do it all at one time. One of the tips I gave last week, you can start by putting all your company information. You do have to choose a category and the market that you're in. But then once you put all your company information in there, you can close out of it, go push on the 3 dots beside that entry and say copy, and then make copies of that. So you're not having to manually go back in and add all that company information. Then you can just choose the category for the next project. Does that make sense? So instead of like having to manually type it for each entry, do the majority of your company information, go back to the main screen where you can see your various projects, and then choose copy. You can see last year's winners for both Central Virginia and DC here. And you can get all of your required forms. They're in the portal and they're here on this website in a Drive account. The judges' criteria is here. I might actually just do this I need to pull in that historic information, and I'll put it in here as well. Thinking of other things that I wanted to share. I think that might be it. Any final thoughts? The Central Virginia Gala is going to be in November. We're looking at the Hermitage Country Club, where it's going to be a much more upscale event this year. The Metro DC Gala is going to be in February, and we're still looking for a venue. And we're still looking for a venue for Greater Philly. Theirs will be more of a nice dinner, since it's a smaller affiliate, and this is the first time they've done a program in a while. So we're really excited to see your work. We are excited. I think our home this year is going to do the same thing in Metro DC. We have Home and Design, and they pick like a Home and Design award. Like they choose what they love, their favorite project, and they feature it. So I think our home is considering doing that too. So that's exciting. Sherry, are you doing the People's Choice again this year?
We actually did that just for the 10-year anniversary.
Okay. Okay.
So I don't know that we're doing that again, because we have the other new awards that we have
Right.
in place from the new categories. So
Right. Very good. And our achievement awards are going to be opening as well. So there's more information coming on that. If you have any questions, my phone number and my email is in the first page of the entry portal. It is my cell. You can text me day or night. If you're working and you have a question, just text me and I'll try to answer it right away. Sherry is available too. So just let us know if you need anything. One last thing, project cost. Be sure to check the rules and guidelines. Project cost is all cost, sweat equity, in-kind, appliances. The only thing that is not part of project cost is design fee. We found that design build firms had it included. Those firms that were outsourcing the design did not. So we leveled the playing field and took out design fees. Does that make sense? Cool. All right. I hope everybody has a great evening. Thank you for tuning in. We will get this loaded onto the YouTube channel, and we appreciate Daniel, Cooper, Greg, and Susan for sharing your expertise with us. Thank you. That is one of the things I love about pro members. You're always here. Co-opetition is what we like to say. You're very helpful. Thank you. Everybody, I hope you have a great evening.
Thank you.